Hi everyone, it's Phil here from Ashland Leather. I'm really excited to show you today a preview of our brand new private stock offering. Everything that we're about to look at in the video here today will be available on our website, ashlandleather.com, tomorrow, March 10th at 12 p.m. noon Central Time. Let's start it off here first with a really special Johnny the Fox. This is ultraviolet shell cordovan on the outside with some purple stitching, and on the interior we've got a full shell cordovan wallet here with black shell cordovan on the interior. We also have some very nicely done hand-stained edges that match the ultraviolet on the exterior of the wallet here. Let's go to that first wallet again with the gold foil stamp here. On the front we've got the Ashland in gold foil that has this sort of matching hand stitching along the outside. This is our cream color hand stitching that pairs very well with the gold stamp on top of the blue shell cordovan. And on the back we also have another gold foil stamp. This time it's for the genuine Herby shell cordovan. So there's about 60 private stock items in the batch today. All of them are wallets. This time it's a little bit different. In addition to our normal private stock wallets, we also have some irregular private stocks that we'll look at the end. This wallet here is reverse blue shell cordovan on top of blue shell cordovan. This is a Capone money clip with hand stained blue edges. On the interior we have more reverse blue shell cordovan. Here's a special piece. This is a prototype long wallet in denim blue shell cordovan, really nice aqua blue shade on the outside, and we've got a nice contrasting orange hand stitching which goes very, very well with the blue. On the interior, we're also playing off that orange concept. This is English Tan Dublin, which is a pretty orange shade, especially when you pair it with orange stitching. This is what's a prototype here. On the right, we've got a magnetic snap closure. This will fit US dollars. Up next is a two-shot card case in blue shell cordovan on the front. This is hand-stitched with a cream thread. We've got natural waxed and burnished edges. On the back, we've got natural shell cordovan. And this is a three-shot, I should have said. There's one card slot in the front, one larger card slot in the center, and then one card slot on the back. And here's some of our customer favorite wallets here. This is our vertical card slot Moran. On the outside we've got Western cigar shell cordovan, a nice hand stained cigar edge. Here's a look at the inside, more Western cigar shell cordovan. You can see the card slots from this angle. There's two on the left, two on the right, and then there's a hidden card slot underneath each of those. Here's another vertical card slot Moran. This time it's on a special piece of bison English Tan Dublin, where we get this exceptional figuring in the grain. All these little bits of striations, highs and lows in color, are very unique to the bison hide. So we've got bison English Tan Dublin on the outside, as well as bison English Tan Dublin on the inside. And here's another special leather that we don't see a lot of, or I should say a special finish on the shell cordovan. This is what we call inverted black shell cordovan, and the inverted black is really neat. It sort of ranges from this golden sort of tan shade in the lighter color sections, gets a little bit of a green color in between the gold and then this black. So it's sort of a range of those three colors, a little bit golden, tan, to a sort of dark forest green, to a little bit more of these darker black spots. Its wallet also has a black hand-stained edge, and on the inside we have the vertical card slots. Of course, these also have the inverted black shell cordovan, and I'll spin it around because this color is very, very directional. You'll see some of the lighter tones come out at certain angles, and other angles it gets a little bit darker. And we've got a few tall Tony the ants to show you. This first one is really special. This is denim blue shell cordovan with a lizard texture. We also have some blue hand stitching all along the outside, and what makes the tall Tony a little bit different is we have the bill slot that extends all the way to the top, so there is no exterior thumb notch like on the normal Tony the Ant. We have some nice hand-stained edges on the outside of this wallet, as well as some more blue lizard shell cordovan. No stamps on the inside, but there are some hot stamps hidden into the bill slot. And here's another blue piece with some texture on it. This is darker blue. This is a navy blue shell cordovan with the gator texture. And on this wallet we have an orange hand stitching, which pairs very nicely with that dark navy blue shade. I'll spin this around because some angles it appears black, but other angles you can see more of those blue tones pop out. Here's a look at the inside. We have more of that same navy blue gator. And the last of the tall Tony the Ants, this is a special piece also. Tumbled verdigris shell cordovan. This is one of my favorite colors and looks on the shell cordovan. And what they do is they take a normal piece of shell cordovan and tumble it in a steam heated drum. So you get these sort of textured looks on the shell. And then the color here with the verdigris, it's a really special look, and it ranges from sort of this pale green color with a little bit of light tan, sort of the natural shell cordovan color. And the darker sections are almost like a darker aqua forest green combination. Little bits of blue in the green here. This one also has a contrasting cream color stitching, and on the inside we have more of that incredible tumbled verdigris shell cordovan. Let's take a look at some Johnny the Fox wallets here. This one's a really cool piece of stone horsehide latigo, one of my favorite looks. It's a very rugged look because it's the horsehide. We get a little bit more of those natural variances in the grain of the leather. And on the horsehide here, it's also inherently thinner than just about every other leather in the world. So this is a thinner version of the Johnny the Fox, and it's sort of a gray shade. It's like a little bit of a pale brown color, that stone. We also have that same stone horsehide latigo on the interior. Here's another Johnny the Fox. This time it is in brown nut Dublin. We have a contrasting cream color stitch all along the outside and more brown nut Dublin on the interior. Here's a fun Johnny the Fox epic dye splatter on reverse color 8. So on the left here, a little bit of extra drip marks, a little bit more subtle on the right. On the interior, we have some garnet shell cordovan on the left with more epic dye splatter on the right. And here is another tumbled shell cordovan piece. This time it is tumbled natural shell cordovan. There's a bit of a range of color in the tumbled natural also. Some angles a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more golden in color, and other angles it's a little bit more pale and brown. Here's a look at the interior. We have some epic dye splatter on some more reverse color 8 shell cordovan, but the dye drips on this one are a little bit darker than normal. And we've got a couple foxes here with some teal horsehide interior. The first up right here is marbled blue shell cordovan. And I'll spin this around also because there's a really great range of color. Little bits of aqua blue shades from the normal blue color, but as it is scraped away, it becomes a little bit more green and a little bit more yellow and orange. You might be able to see right there. Really cool look on the marbled blue. This one has a contrasting teal stitching along the outside and then teal horsehide latigo on the interior. And I love this Johnny the Fox. This is inverted shell cordovan again. We looked at inverted black earlier. This is inverted blue, so it's the same concept, but the dye drips are more of a blue shade as opposed to a black. Really cool aqua blue color in this inverted blue shell cordovan. We also have that contrasting blue stitching along the outside and teal horsehide latigo on the interior. Here's another tumbled verdigris piece. Love the look of this leather. Really cool, sort of pale green shade that's very, very nice, especially with the highs and lows of the texture. Really cool texture on all the tumbled shells, but especially on the tumbled verdigris. Something really nice about it. And on the interior of this guy, we've paired it up nicely with some natural shell cordovan. And the last Johnny the Fox is also inverted blue shell cordovan, a little bit more of a subtle look on this particular piece. And I'll try to spin it around and show you. It's a little bit darker, but there are some of those lighter sections in the drip marks here on the exterior. Here's a look at the interior. I think this might be the last we have of the cobalt blue Dublin. It's a darker, more of like navy, almost purple color of Dublin. Here's another piece of English tan Dublin bison leather with that incredible figuring that we saw earlier. Same thing here, same great look, but this time is on the traditional Bugs Moran. Here's another Bugs Moran. This one's built for patina. On the outside, we have natural shell cordovan, which is a really nice look. And on the interior, we've got a couple different colors here. There's some whiskey shell cordovan and some reverse color 8 shell cordovan on the left. We also have 2 Horween ink stamps on this guy. And here's another really special Bugs Moran. I think this is called psychedelic shell cordovan, but it's more of like a cigar look. So the color range in the marbled cigar usually looks just like this, but the patterning is a little bit different on this one. We've got some more circular sort of shapes and drip marks that make me feel like this was more of a psychedelic finish. So really cool psychedelic cigar shell cordovan on this Bugs Moran. We also have more natural shell cordovan on the interior. And here's a couple firsts. This is Tony the Ant, also in that bison English tan Dublin. What makes this a little bit different other than that incredible character on the outside, we've got vertical card slots on the inside. So this one has English tan Dublin bison on top of blue Dublin. And I have another one here, also English tan Dublin bison leather. Great figuring on the outside, but this time we have some color number 8 Dublin for the top 2 card holders. And I'll try to compare those side by side here. You can see the blue on the bottom, a little bit more of that burgundy color on this one. And here's a private stock small zip in the marbled blue shell cordovan. Really great color on this. And you can really see the dynamic shift of color as I spin this around, a little bit darker at some angles and a little bit lighter at others. Really cool range from that aqua blue shade to a little bit of an orangey tan. In some areas, it's a little bit more of a darker forest green. On the outside, we have a contrasting teal stitching. On the interior, we have some teal horsehide latigo. Here's a Tony the Ant. This time we have the bill slot with a thumb notch. So this is our traditional Tony the Ant with the traditional card holders on the inside. This is black Dublin on the exterior, and this one's extra thin because we have black horsehide latigo on the interior. So if you're looking for a thin Tony the Ant, That's the guy to go with right there. Up next is another Tony the Ant. This time it is Whiskey Shell Cordovan on the outside. It's a pretty rare and highly coveted color of shell cordovan that Horween does not produce very often. It's a little bit darker and a little bit more golden and yellow in color when you compare it to natural shell cordovan. If you look at the inside, and we've got alternating reverse shell cordovan on top of Whiskey Shell Cordovan. And here is a tall Herbie. So it's just like the fat Herbie, but without the thumb notch for the bill slot on the outside. This allows us to do a couple of things. We've got a very large continuous piece of leather through the outside, and it's a huge context to see on a piece of natural chrome excel here. And what it allows us to do on the inside is to have a continuous piece of chrome excel through the interior. Normally we have to flip this around backwards so you see the sort of suede side in the interior center. But this, with the tall Herbie as well as the tall Tony the Ant, we can see all the grain side of the leather on the exterior as well as on the interior of the wallet. And here's some of our traditional Herbies. Some epic grain natural shell cordovan with a reverse interior. Here's another one with some epic natural. This time it's a double reverse, I believe. So we've got shell cordovan with the epic texture on top of reverse shell cordovan on the exterior. And on the interior, we've got this reverse shell cordovan here, but it has some really unique and interesting texture. I'm not really sure how that was achieved. It's a really great look on reverse shell here with some natural shell in the center. And here's another one with that double reverse look. So we've got some epic natural shell cordovan on top of reverse natural. This one is hand stitched with a cream color stitching. And on the interior, we've got some of that same great look with the hand glazed reverse natural on top of natural shell cordovan. Here's an epic dye splatter reverse color 8 shell fat Herbie. Really crazy look on this one. That's what we call it, the epic splatter. This one has a natural waxed and burnished edge, and on the interior we have some more hand glazed epic splatter reverse color 8 shell. So you can see the luster that is appearing on this reverse piece here. Normally the reverse side of the shell cordovan is not this bright and shiny, but we do a little bit of extra finishing to smooth in and polish up the reverse side of the epic reverse color 8 here. And the last Herbie is another one with epic splatter. This is also reverse color 8. This one is not hand glazed, unlike the one we just looked at. So you can see the luster is a little bit more subtle. This wall is really great looking. The Horween shell cordovan ink stamp on the exterior is cut just about perfect on this one. We also have a really great looking hand stained edge. So it's color 8 stain on the edges here, and on the interior this piece is color 8 shell cordovan, but the card holders are epic splatter reverse color 8 also, but they're a little bit darker than normal. All right, let's slide into some more private stock to look at. This next one is a marbled blue shell cordovan baseball, which is also a really great look. It's marbled blue on both of the panels, and this one has a teal color stitching. Here's a great one. We call this the skip finish, but there's a few different versions of the skip finish. This one's got some more of these like linear marks that are much lighter, and they go immediately to dark. So you can see these little stripes going all throughout that panel piece. And this is Whiskey Shell Cordovan on the other panel. And this one is Psychedelic Shell on both panels, but the other panel is like a little bit more subtle than this one here. Here's another skip finish Shell Cordovan piece. This one is a little bit more dramatic than the first one we looked at. It's got more of these lighter tones, a little bit more golden color in it. And the third skip finish, this one is even more intense. I really like the look here. I'm not sure how Skip is going about finishing these, but I know that he hand finishes them with different applicators. So this was the skip finish for this panel piece here, and we've combined it with the Whiskey Shell Cordovan. And here's another Whiskey Shell Cordovan color combo. So we got Whiskey Shell for this pattern piece, and this is Psychedelic Ultraviolet for the other pattern piece here. And here's another baseball, all Whiskey Shell Cordovan this time. And another one with a consistent look. This is all black shell cordovan, but we do have two different gold foil stamps, the Horween shell cordovan stamp on that side and the Ashland stamp on the other. And here's another Psychedelic Ultraviolet piece. This time we've paired it up with some natural shell cordovan, and I'll try to show you the look of the psychedelic here. It's a really interesting pattern. And the last baseball here, this is reverse psychedelic shell cordovan for this piece. And there's this really interesting line that goes right through the center. It's cut in a very neat way. You can see a little bit of red on this one side of that pattern piece. And the other pattern piece is marbled blue shell cordovan. And let's get into some Capone money clips. We've got reverse color 8 on top of color 8 shell cordovan. This one has a contrasting cream color stitching, and we have reverse color 8 on the interior. And here's another really fun color combo. We've got reverse green shell cordovan on green shell cordovan, green stitching along the outside, a nice waxed and burnished edge, and on the interior we have some denim blue shell cordovan. Here's another Capone money clip. This time it is in the epic natural shell cordovan on the inside and out. This this one turned out great. We've got some denim blue shell cordovan with a contrasting magenta stitching along the outside, and then we've got some reverse blue shell cordovan for the spine piece here. And on the interior, we have more reverse blue shell cordovan. This one comes with a black spring bar money clip. And the last component, this one is hand stitched. Really cool piece of inverted violet shell cordovan this time. I'll try to give you a better look at this leather. It's kind of tough to capture because it's so bright and shiny. It's like a mirror. So it's just reflecting the light right back at us. But you can see the range goes from this sort of orangey tan color to more of a vibrant purple shade. It's a little bit of a darker purple, and it's a little bit darker on that left piece. On the right side here, it's a little bit more subtle. We do have a nice little pool of purple here. This is sitting on top of violet shell cordovan. We've got sort of like a pink color hand stitching along the outside and more inverted violet on the interior. Next up is our Vic Snap Wallet. This one is made in some dark blue shell cordovan, and we have a card slot on the back. And I have 4 one-shot card cases to show you. The first one here is blue latigo. I think the color actually is called regatta blue. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit more of a pale blue. We have another one-shot here. This time it is in color number 8 Dublin, which is a little bit darker, and you can see some of this burgundy color on the spine. There's a nice little depth of color in the color 8 Dublin. So you can see darker on the surface, a little bit more burgundy on the undertones. Here's a piece of brown nut Dublin. You can see some really crazy striations on this one. And the last of the one-shots, this is our brand new Derby deerskin, which Moran does not plan to produce again, but we did buy a bunch of it. So selfishly, we're making a couple different wallets out of it. I'm loving the look. And here is a vertical Frank the Enforcer. This one's a little bit different. So we've got one large slot in the center. This will fit US dollars folded in half. There's a hidden card slot here with some 2 vertical card holders here. And on the back, we have 2 more card holders. So a lot of card holders on this guy in garnet shell cordovan, which is a really nice look. And you can see some angles it's a little bit more brown, other angles it's much more of like a vibrant, almost an orangey fire red. Here's a Frank the Enforcer. It's a 5-slot Frank. This one is in raw denim shell cordovan. You can see that really nice blue shade, and this one is hand stitched with a red thread on the back. We have 2 more card slots, which is a little bit different than normal. Normally we have 1 card slot in the back with a thumb notch, and 1 more Frank the Enforcer. This is my favorite shell color, amaretto shell cordovan. We've got a really cool purple hand stitching on this guy, and you can see as I spin this, the color of that amaretto is just really remarkable. Some angles a little bit more orange, other angles a little bit more brown and red. And here's a look at the back. This is our traditional card holder on the back I was just mentioning with the thumb notch here. All right, let's wrap it up here with the irregulars. There's a couple irregulars that are just not up to our normal standards, but they are so special I was wanting to include it in the private stock event here. We've got Epic Natural Shell Cordovan on top of reverse. This one is hand stitched also with a brown color stitching. There are some small scuffs and scratches on the leather on the inside and the outside. Here's a look at the interior. It's just like the one we saw earlier, but this one has a brown color stitching. Here's another Epic Natural Shell Cordovan. Some inconsistent scuffs and scratches on this leather also, but this one is full Epic Natural inside and out. And then the last of the irregular Herbies, this is color number 8 shell cordovan with a natural waxed and burnished edge. On the interior, there's some extra dye splatter in the interior center, which is a little bit different than normal, so it almost looks color 8 all through the outside and the inside. And I do have 2 Tony the Ants. They're both really cool. So on the outside here, this is like a little bit more of a red version of color 8 shell cordovan sitting on top of black shell cordovan. We've got some hand stained edges on this one, and the interior we have alternating shell cordovan pieces. So we've got black on top of reverse black, and then reverse black on top of black. And here's a look at the last Tony. This is a double reverse sort of look. We've got shell on top of reverse shell. This is black on top of reverse black there. And then I have reverse black interior. And then I have a couple Frank the Enforcers. This is ultraviolet shell cordovan on top of marbled blue shell cordovan on top of green shell cordovan. And on the back side, we have more ultraviolet shell cordovan on top of marbled blue shell cordovan. And here's one with Epic Natural shell cordovan. This is hand stitched with a little bit of an orange thread. And we've got some blue shell cordovan for those top 2 pieces. It's the same look on the backside, Epic Natural shell on top of blue shell cordovan. And then we have some Bugs Moran to round it off. This is reverse color 8 shell cordovan. This one's got sort of like a opened up, almost like a cracky look on the outside right here with a nice Horween shell cordovan ink stamp. This has a hand stained edge with a reverse interior for the top 2 card holders and then shell cordovan underneath. Here's a fun one. This is reverse cigar shell cordovan for the top 2 card holders on top of cigar shell cordovan. And I love the way that looks. We get the Horween measuring machine stamp on the left. And the outside, I believe this is cigar shell cordovan. And here's one with 2, in fact 4 Horween shell cordovan stamps. This is gold foil. This is our normal hot stamp with no foil. And then the 2 ink stamps is black on top of reverse black, and these are all hand glazed pieces for the reverse. And on the outside we have black shell cordovan with this sort of neon green stitching. And here's one I love this one. This is black shell cordovan with a blue hand stitching. Really nice piece of black shell here. It's a shame that there are some scuffs and scratches because on the inside we've got these really nice looking gold foil stamps. So the Ashland stamp on the right and the Horween stamp on the left. These are all black shell cordovan pieces. And the last one has some really nice reverse black shell cordovan also. Little bits of greenish color that contrasts with the lighter tan shades in the reverse piece of black. I love the way that one looks. We've got black shell on the right, and on the exterior there's black shell cordovan. You might be able to see why these are irregular. There's like these little scuffs and scratches that are not polishing out, so just don't have it in me to charge full price. So that's all of the private stocks, including some of the irregulars that we don't normally do. Let me know which one you like. Leave a comment with which one of these is your favorite. Maybe it's this guy here with the neon green, almost like neon yellow stitching on top of the black shell. It looks really great. So again, everything that you just saw will be available on the website at 12 p.m. noon Central Time tomorrow, March 10th. Thanks so much for checking out the video. Really appreciate you checking out the leathers with me. Just love looking at all these different looks and different colors. Until next time, I hope you have a good one.